Hello and good morning today. I would like to introduce the IRRISeller. The IRRISeller is a calculation tool that is based on IRRISketch. The IRRISeller allows you to easily and quickly calculate material costs and level value based on the irrigation plan. The IRRISeller is included in your IRRISketch program and is available free of charge to all IRRISketch subscribers. I have made a simple irrigation here. There are some rotors, sprayers, drip lines, a valve box, a water source, a controller and a sensor. Important for the correct function of the IRRISeller is a cleanly prepared spec sheet. Here in the spec sheet we see an error message right here at the top. One rotor is not connected. Click on the eye symbol to switch to irrigation and see the rotor marked. Click on the lateral pipe and add consumer and we connect the rotor. At the spec sheet, the error message disappears. Now I would like to go quickly through the most important configuration points of the spec sheet, because only items that are displayed here can be edited later by the IRRISeller. Let's take a look at the possible configurations. Here at the top right, at the small cogwheel, we find the configuration. Up here we can configure the sprinkler node. Here we can choose between different connection options. Swing joint or flex pine with barbs. Next we can choose the minimum flex pipe length per connection. The tie-in fitting is the connection in the lateral pipe. Here there is a choice of clamp saddle or T with female BSP thread. We can also pre-select the fitting for the pipe end. Under the item Root Zone Watering Nodes, the same default settings for root irrigation are set. Even with drip irrigation, I can make some presettings. For example, how much extra drip pipe should be added to the project. I can also set the distance between each pipe holder in the drip line. Add manifold nodes. I have the option of settings. The valves outlay, folded or unfolded. At automation node, I can set whether I want to use a 230 or a 120 V control, or whether the extensions should be selected manually or automatically for modular computers. Interesting settings are those for the wiring of the controller. At wiring section, control wiring method. At separate multi-core cable to manifold, I set an automatic cable selection. At separate wire to valve plus common wire, single cables are laid to each valve. And at add wiring manually, we can choose ourselves which cable to use. Let's look at this in our case. We have 5 valves installed in our system. So we need 5 positive wire and 1 ground wire, a total of 6 wire cables. Unfortunately, there is no 6-wire cable in the IRRISketch parts list. So IRRISketch selects a 4-wire and a 2-wire cable with 13 meters. The lower cable is a 2-wire cable for the rain sensor with 15 meters. We changed in the wire section the mode to separate wire to valve. IRRISketch proposes a 64 meter long 1-wire cable. The 2-wire sensor cable remains the same. We changed in the wire section the mode to add wiring manually. Only the 2-wire sensor cable remains. In this case, we now select a cable manually with plus. We select cable. Any brand. And as already said, there is no 6-wire cable. Therefore, we choose the cable 7 multiplied by 0.75 square millimeters and add the length manually. Now we can edit the spec sheets according to our specifications. We start here at the top with the 3/4 inch rotors. We need an elbow piece for the pipe connection to the rotor, so we choose 3/4 inch barb fitting from Rainbird, according to the Rainbird flex pipe, and a connection fitting for the lateral pipe. And IRRISketch proposes the matching clamp saddle for it. And at the end of the pipe, the appropriate elbow compression fitting. One section down, we find the spray nozzles. The articles applied to the rotors above are automatically suggested for the nozzles. IRRISketch now adds a 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch adapter here. This is unnecessary if I choose the correct 1/2 inch barb elbow for the connection. Then the adapter disappears. Furthermore, the flex pipe, the clamp saddle, and the compression fitting are selected. The correct quantities are displayed according to the plan. With drip irrigation, I can choose between barb and twist lock connectors, and the drip spikes calculated on the base of the pipe length. For the valve's manifold node, I choose the Rainbird DV valve with male thread. The connection from the valve to the lateral pipe. A compression fitting 32 mm 1 inch female thread. Same valve for the drip line. At valve accessories, we find, for example, pressure regulation. However, this is not the case with Rainbird DV valve. At intake assembly, I can now add manifolds for the valve box. Here above it is shown again that this valve box contains 5 valves, connected to a 32 mm main pipe. Now I can add a 3-way plastic manifold. And additionally a 2-way manifold. Then the valve box is still missing. I choose the valve box Jumbo. We have 5 valves, the box should be enough for that. Now to the controller. I choose Rainbird TM2. For 5 valves I take the TM2 6. I can add Wi-Fi module under controller accessories. And the rain sensor. And sensor accessories are not available in this case. The length of main and lateral pipe are specified according to the plan, the elbow and T-pieces as well. I would now like to add additional elbows here. I choose here compression elbow 32 mm. and can enter the desired quantity here. In the last section we have the control unit wiring, which we already worked on. And with that, the spec sheet is complete. All items that were available for selection are done. Now that we have saved the spec sheets, we can here in the upper right corner via these small sheet symbols save outlay transfer the spec sheets to the IRRISeller. We can give a name and save. And now a message appears up here that I can click on to switch to the IRRISeller. In IRRISeller we now find our complete spec sheet. The list is sorted by brands. Rainbird, Any Brand and Hunter. I can change the sort order of the list up here, from brands to nodes, and get the same sorting as in the spec sheet. Rotor connection, nozzle connection, drip irrigation, valve manifold, automation, the pipes and at the bottom the wiring. This list is now still marked in red, because no prices have yet been entered in IRRISeller. And this is what we do now. I will switch back to the workplace and find here under my account the item prices. In this overview I can find all my price lists. Personal price lists are displayed in the left-hand column. In the middle column, price lists that I share with the community. And on the right, public price lists that I can download. I can now start and create the first own price list. Up here I can create equipment, labor price lists and new folders. We are creating a new equipment price list. By clicking on a name, we open a new list. Here we can now start to enter individual prices. Top left under plus element, I create a new line in which I can enter the first article. The columns break down into article numbers. And manufacturer. Then the article name. Spray body 1804. The unit, for example, 1 piece per article. There can also be rolls. The value. Here the currency. And that was it for now. What we are still missing is the matching of this article with the corresponding article of the spec sheet. For this we use the IRRISketch ID, IID. When I open this field, all available articles are displayed. IRRISketch contains over 3,000 individual articles from many manufacturers and standard articles such as compression fittings or PE pipes, so that the program knows which article I have now entered here. I need the corresponding IRRISketch ID, IID. I simply type the name or product number of this item into the search field, like 1804 or spray body, and I find the right IID. Rainbird 1804 spray body. The correct IID is therefore 1804. I have now connected my article number with the IID. And in IRRISeller, this article is now matched with this price. An easy way to find the IID for my articles. Let's take a look at the spec sheet. Here I find all IRRISketch IDs. Here we find the spray body with the IRRISketch ID 1804, which we have entered into our price list. I can now enter piece by piece every item I use in my planning. This is the Rainbird Rotor 5004. We are looking for the IID. And there he is. 5004 PC. PC stands for part circle. So in the end, I have to make sure that all the items I use in the spec sheet are also be shown in my price list. Entering the data by hand can be very time-consuming. But of course, there is also the possibility to import a price list. I already have an Excel price list, for example, or have received a price list from my supplier. Can I simply edit them to import into IRRISeller? In this list, we have the article number in column A and the manufacturer in column B, C the description, D the unit, and E the price. The IID and the currency are missing. I now add the currency. I now select the entire spreadsheet. Copy this with Ctrl+C. Click on Import in my IRRISeller price list and select which columns I want to import. I have the article number, but I don't have the IID yet. I have the manufacturer, the name, the unit, the value, and the currency. I click now on the yellow field and insert my data with the command Ctrl+V and select Insert. And the complete Excel list is imported into IRRISeller. We still need to find the IID allocator. The intelligent search makes it very easy to find the corresponding IID. For example, this nozzle Rainbird RVAN14. By typing RVAN, I immediately get suitable results. Here RVAN18. And if I can't find the IID that way, I always have the option of looking for the IID from the spec sheet. Besides, it is not necessary to store prices. For all 3000 articles contained in IRRISketch. I only need the articles that I use every day in my planning. And they are not that many. It is also possible to deposit the same IID for several prices. I have 32mm elbow compression fittings for my supplier A and the same item for supplier B with different prices. I now select the IID. Compression elbow 32. And the same for the second article. These two articles are now both shown to me later in the calculation. And I can select them by simply ticking them on and off. On the other hand, an article can also have several IIDs. Here in my price list, I find the SPX flex pipe from Rainbird. The IID is SPX flex. Now I can also add the IID of the Hunter Flex SG to the list. Flex SG. And with this I have linked two IIDs to one price item. It does not matter which item I select in my spec sheet, Rainbird or Hunter. In both cases, the IRRISeller refers to the same article. I can also group several price list items under one IID. If, for example, I use this control unit ESP-TM26, I always need a 230V connection cable for the installation. I click on plus setup, and a new setup appears at the end of the list. I select the IID of the TM26. And then select the controller, the connection cable and the setup. Then right-click and select Add selected elements to selected assemblies. Now the controller and connection cable are combined under the IID TM26-230. If the TM26 controller is now selected in the spec sheet, this setup is always displayed in the IRRISeller. Also create items that are automatically added to each calculation. Up here I have the article Marking Flags, which I always need for sprinkler positioning. Here at the end of the line, under Auto Amount, I insert a 1, and now as soon as I address this price list, one time the marker flags added. I can also calculate a price depending on the quantity. Here, this T piece for drip pipe costs 68 cents per piece. I click on the price and select cost depending on quantity and on Add Range. From 1 to 100 I would like to hold the base price. Then I create a second range. From 101 to 1000 pieces. A price coefficient of 0.8. That means I give a discount if more than 101 pieces are purchased. Then the price is 54 cents. To ensure a better overview within the list, it is possible to divide the articles into groups. I add an element group and name it. And then mark all items that correspond to this group. And then insert here above with the yellow button. The name of the group now appears in the Groups column. If I create several elements groups, I can also put articles in more than one group. In the value modifier, I can now store discounts or surcharges for groups. For example, to compare different suppliers with each other. Supplier A grants me a discount on all articles in the amount of 50%. A second supplier grants me 45%. And also on all parts. I now store these values in different discount plans. In IRRISeller, it is now possible for me to easily switch back and forth between the discount plans of the suppliers in order to display the most attractive price. I save this list and change to the price list overview. Here we can now rename the list. Also delete or copy. IRRISeller also offers the possibility to download existing prices. In the right column, I find public prices. Here you will find price lists that manufacturers, suppliers, or other IRRISketch users made available. Click on the cloud to open the available price lists. Click Download and Confirm. When the price lists have been downloaded, they appear in the Personal Prices column. Click on the folder symbol to open the lists. I can view but not edit them. They are copy protected. This is because it's dynamic, which means that if the creator of the list changes prices, the prices automatically change in my list as well. Click on Clone to make a copy. I can now edit this clone as I like it. However, the dynamics are lost in the process. Let's look a little closer at these price lists with DripTube. We can see that the various drip pipes are already stored with IIDs. And also here below his setup. Here a pressure regulating filter in combination with a 1-inch connector. Now that we have created price lists, we can now look at the spec sheets in the IRRISeller again. You remember that we just exported an outlet of the project. In our workshop we find our project and can switch back to the calculation via this green button. And here we find our list still in red, because no price list has been selected yet. We click here above on Price Lists. Now all available price lists are displayed. If I now select a price list, the values are automatically applied to my calculation. The IID can be found in the green line, and below in the gray line the article number from the price list and the value. All green lines were found, and this yellow line shows me a setup. Here the irrigation valve DV, combined with a cable connector and a connecting hose. Now we have a red line here, so an article not found. The TM26 120 volt is not detected. And there we already recognize the mistake. I have obviously selected the wrong control unit in my spec sheet. And of course I don't find this 120 volt version in my price list. I am now opening the spec sheets again in the project. And down here I find under control unit, indeed here is the 120 volt control unit selected. I am now replacing this with the 230 volt control unit. I save the outlay again. I update the existing outlay. Back in the IRRISeller, I update the view once. The control unit must still be activated briefly. And already the article was found. Also in yellow again, because it is a setup. Here, further up there, is another red line. There is no need to be surprised. These are MPR nozzles of the rotor 5004. They are free of charge at Rainbird, and therefore do not have a price list entry. We are already done with that. All articles have been found now. I can now easily switch between price lists by clicking on and off here above. I can also overlay different price lists on top of each other by selecting two lists. And then I see both prices for each item. €8.10 from one or €13 from the other list. And now I can choose here which price I want to calculate with. If a red line appears anywhere here, you have to think about where it came from. I am now looking for the error in my price list because an IID was not taken over correctly. Or do I need to look in the spec sheets? Whether I have chosen the wrong article. We now switched from equipment to final view up here. Then I see the calculation again in another listing, also again sorted according to the components. The IIDs are now no longer needed here. Quantity, price and total price. And here I now have the possibility to adjust the quantities. In this view, I can now apply my preset discount and surcharges. Up here in the middle under price list. The price list I used is displayed with the discount rates. By clicking, I am shown the available rates, which I can then select. I choose the discount rates for the drip tube. And the discount is now displayed in my calculation. I can now easily switch between preset discounts and surcharges here. But even if I have not stored any preset discounts, I can right-click on an article or on an article group and add price modifiers. Set a surcharge or discount. And already this group is 10% more expensive. I can also make this change for the entire calculation by right-clicking on equipment at the top here. And now the whole calculation is changed. A fast price change is also possible at fast modifier. So with the IRRISeller, I can quickly and simply create calculation in order to provide end customer offers, or to compare different suppliers with each other. In the second part of the IRRISeller series, we look at the calculation of label values.